Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're taking a look at Zach Cregger's Weapons. It is out. We have seen it. Very excited to talk about Weapons. No spoilers here, so rest assured. If you haven't seen it yet, you can listen and be assured that we're not going to ruin anything for you. I promise. So we're also going to take a look at The Shrouds. What is this, 2003 David Cronenberg feature? It's about death. It's complicated. You know, master of body horror David Cronenberg is back with something that's a little bit more contemplative. Looking forward to talking about The Shrouds. We're going to take a look at some upcoming trailers, namely Avatar Fire and Ash. I want to talk about this new Brendan Fraser movie. Eleanor the Great, Scarlett Johansson's first directorial debut. There's a trailer out for that. And it sucks because tomorrow we're getting the trailer for Marty Supreme, the new Josh Safdie film starring Timmy Chalamet. But we can't talk about that today because it's, not out yet. Maybe next week we'll talk about it. Before we get to all of it, we need to get to the news. Our first story this week, the standalone Hulu app is going away. Wah, wah, right? If you're a Hulu subscriber, bad news, guys. It's going into Disney Plus. You're going to have to find it over there. Disney's bringing the cows in or something. I'm sure there's some colloquial farm term to describe how they're bringing everything in under one tent, right? Hulu and Disney are going to become one thing. I think that's what this story is, right, Andy?
Yeah, sort of. So Disney bought out, I think it's Comcast's stake in Hulu, paid them $8 or $9 billion, something around there. They've been trying to do this for a couple of years. Finally, that has gone through. So Disney 100% owns Hulu and will be stopping the standalone Hulu app and rolling it into the Disney Plus app. However, that doesn't mean the two services are combining. You will still be able to buy separate Disney Plus and Hulu subscriptions, along with a number of bundles as well. But they are not combining it into one app, and I think that's important to understand. It will be under the umbrella of Disney Plus. They're also launching, this is kind of in conjunction with them launching their ESPN kind of standalone app. Everyone's trying to make a big sports move right now. Paramount just bought UFC earlier this week. That was big news. So sports and streaming is kind of the next horizon of the streaming wars. Also, Disney's going to not report numbers anymore, which is apparently something that Netflix has done with reporting new subscriber numbers. They're just like, no, we're good. We don't need to do that. That's irrelevant. Don't pay attention to that. So that's kind of where we are. So one app, two services. We'll see what this means for the content.
Regarding like the not reporting numbers, like, it bums me out as a consumer, but I guess, that they're a business. They don't have to report them if they don't want. As for the moving the app into Disney Plus, I feel like it's confusing. It's confusing as a consumer. I don't understand. You're not killing it, but it's not going away either. And I feel like the big reason it's confusing is because Disney knows they can't just turn off Hulu. Because think of how many boomers in the world who have Roku sticks and Amazon Fire sticks attached to TVs who would have no idea where their Hulu sub went. They wouldn't know how to get back to it. And they certainly wouldn't know that they're not being billed for it anymore, right? If you just turn it off, then that just turns off a whole line of revenue. So they got to move it. They got to like position it and be like, oh, we're combining it, or we're it's over here. Your sub is still turned on. Your automatic payments, those aren't going away. But we got to shuffle and move some things because they just want to bring everything into one kind of place. Like, I was reading about this, like the Netflixification of Disney and how they've just kind of decided, hey, we need to just start running everything under one banner. And like, that's true. And I get that. But as somebody who unsubbed to Disney Plus like 5 months ago and still has a Hulu sub and has had a Hulu sub the whole time, this will probably be the thing that gets me off of Hulu. Cause I don't want the Disney library. And even if it's like, well, it's, it's right there. You don't have to sub. You can still just do the Hulu thing. Like, I don't want to have to download Disney Plus again and figure this out. This all seems really complicated and hard. I think it's an overstep for me as a consumer. I don't know. What do you think? Are you subbed to either of these? You're subbed to Hulu at least, right?
I don't think I'm subbed to any of these right now, except I do need to sub tonight for the Alien TV show, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But you always want to make things as smooth and easy for users, because you got to remember a lot of people are just not that technologically literate and having to like redo subscriptions or download a new app and sign up again. And that sort of thing is really that's a good way to lose revenue and lose subscribers. So as long as they try and make that as easy as possible, if they're like, hey, just use all your same logins and stuff, but you probably going to have to download a new app or download Disney Plus, and there'll be a new, what they call a tile for Hulu and ESPN, that sort of thing. So it'll be like under the umbrella of Disney Plus. But it'll be interesting to see what it means for content.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like we're getting into the late stages of streaming wars, right? Like they're all streamlining. We're all coming into just a few big I don't want to use the term monopolistic, but a few large players, I guess. And it's been that way for a minute, but it's becoming more obvious on the consumer side. Yeah, I'm sure it won't be too hard to work out. Either way, though, for what it's worth, I like that Hulu is owned by Disney, and I do like that there's a selection of Disney stuff in there. I think they have Andor Season 1 in there now, maybe. Every once in a while, I'll see like an Avengers or something pop on there, and I'm like, oh, cool, I can still access Disney content outside of Disney Plus. That's been nice. Like, even though it's the same company, ultimately, like, there is a place for that. But now, yeah, it just feels like they're pulling a lot of licenses in, and everybody wants to hang on to their properties or just outright push them out for tax purposes. In the case of HBO and like Cartoon Network content, like it's a lot. It's confusing. I'll tell you what isn't confusing. Trailers at the movies, at least according to AMC CEO Adam Aaron. We talked about this a little bit last week. They followed it up this week with an official story. AMC is planning to trim their pre-show by 4 to 5 minutes. According to the CEO, quote, "We don't love deluging our customers with up to 30 minutes of trailers and ads before their films start." Andy, what do you know about this?
So AMC is planning to cut back slightly on kind of the ad reels, but before their movie starts. I think they actually may have misstepped by not joining the rest of the theaters when they did this, because the other theaters, Cinemark, Regal, already give you 25 to 20 to 30 minutes of previews and trailers. And AMC held out, and then they're like, well, we're really missing out on revenue. We should just jump on. But now they're kind of getting some backlash for it. So now they're backpedaling, and the thing is, they only plan to cut maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and they've already done these contracts for the advertising, so they actually can't cut those. And so what they plan not to cut is like the AMC reels, so that means you might be getting fewer of the Nicole Kidman ad and other kind of in-house stuff, but you're still getting just as many ads as you were before.
Yeah, you should run the Nicole Kidman thing like an IMAX bumper, or like a bumper in front of D-Box, or like 40, like one of the special premium shows gets the Nicole Kidman reel, right? Like, make Film Twitter turn out for it. But yeah, they're in a weird place. Like, what are you going to get rid of? I guess you could cut a trailer, maybe, but that's really good revenue. And you're right, you like, they just signed a contract to be running ads for like Geico and Google in front of these things, so those aren't going anywhere. But look, it's a good point. A lot of people ragged on them last week, just like we did. Like, AMC added this bumper on their website that says every showtime has 25 to 30 minutes of trailers following the start time. And like, people have been dunking on them for a couple weeks now for it. Like, come on, guys. We all know that's true. And we appreciate you trying to be in front of the problem by just being direct with your consumers one-to-one and saying, hey guys, we all know the score here, 25 to 30 minutes of trailers. But we all also know there's a 30-minute pre-show before all of that starts. It's like, y'all, you could be running some of those trailers in there, man. You could cut this down to 15 minutes if you wanted, but they don't. Like, they've signed deals with people who say that you're going to be sitting in those seats. They want you there. They don't know how to do it. So 4 to 5 minutes is a start, but I don't know. I think there's a better answer to this problem that's just eluding everybody because, money and deals and production. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I mean, most people are just skipping this stuff anyways. Like, I'm getting there usually about 15 minutes after start time, which is perfect because you can find your seat, get a soda, use the restroom, and then I sit through one, maybe two trailers at most. I'm not sitting through all these ads. It does not.
Yes. One of the most thrilling feelings I get all week is walking into the theater, like just as that last theater bumper is starting before the movie rolls. At Cinemark, it's this thing with these mobsters. Anytime I walk in, it's like on that. I'm like, oh my God, perfect. I might as well have won the lottery. Like, it's the best time. I missed every trailer I've already seen online. I've also been significantly let down by any time when I have to go watch something like the Odyssey trailer in front of Jurassic World, and I got to watch the whole damn thing, all 30 minutes, or God, the Avatar trailer. Worth mentioning, though, those strategies do work. Those get people like me in theaters to watch and hang out and sit through a whole trailer package. So, maybe more of that. Maybe more exclusives in there, huh? That draws people. People like those Nicole Kidman spots. Could do more of those. I don't know. Something. Another story this week. We can talk about Park Chan-Wook violating strike rules and getting expelled from the Writers Guild of America. This is a weird one, and there's not a lot of story here. It's kind of a he said, she said thing. What do you know about it?
So Park Chan-Wook got into some hot water with the WGA. He was accused of writing during the strikes for the show The Sympathizer. He claims that the show was already completely written and had shot, and they were in post-production, and HBO had contacted him wanting to kind of redo a few scenes, and he claims he didn't do any rewrites until after the strikes were over. The WGA disagrees. They were just going to kind of give him like a silent warning and slap on the wrist, but someone in the higher ups were like, no, we're expelling him from the WGA. So he's been expelled from the union for whatever that means. He really doesn't care. He was like, I'm just working on my next movie, man. I don't have time for this. Like, I'm not even going to fight it. I literally don't care. I'm making my movie in Korea. Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of, it doesn't really affect either side. It's just been a bit of a story the last couple of days.
No, I think if anything, it makes the WGA look a little foolish because, it turns out expelling somebody who's already very famous and is not going to have a problem finding work doesn't mean anything and doesn't accomplish anything. It kind of only makes you look dumb. Him saying he thought about contesting it and then ultimately deciding not to makes it seem like just kind of a childish thing. And the fact that there's no real repercussions from this action means that it's ultimately kind of meaningless. Like if I was a young writer coming up and I maybe had liked Park Chan-Wook, if I was a fan of The Sympathizer, some of his other great work, I would also wonder, okay, what is the WGA for then exactly? Like if you guys aren't willing to enforce things when things happen, then you don't stand for anything, so not great from them. Alternatively, other side of that fence, if I was writing during the writer's strike and knew I was scabbing and they caught me and I was like, scoff, I'm not going back there. I'm too good for this. Like his actions are exactly what I would do if I were writing. So like he could very easily have been scabbing and been doing the wrong thing. I don't know. But what I do know is he's not going to lose any work and they're expelling him anyway. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it seems a little toothless all around, but I figured it was worth mentioning in here because we talked about Park Chan-Wook plenty. That's the WGA. I don't know,
Well, and we saw a number of people kind of get around the writer strikes writing. There were things like there were directors writing and they'd be like, well, I'm not actually a writer, so it's not like that sort of thing. And we know like Deadpool and Wolverine, like Zach and I were talking about this before the show, that was most likely written and shot, during the strikes, and they just kind of got around it by saying, well, we're not writing anything. It's all improv. No, nothing's being written by us.
Yeah.
Maybe some poor intern.
Yes. Andy got me going on this. Yeah. I was complaining about Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. Cause they were shooting during the strikes and and they were like, oh, we're not doing any writing. And it's like, really? The studio who's most famous for like having half a script and shooting a bunch of junk and then putting it together in post and then trying to reshoot and rewrite, putting it together later on a set where Ryan Reynolds infamously is riffing on takes and coming up with stuff a la improv on what may work for edits for a punchline. That show that movie you're not doing any writing on? Really? But they're Disney. And no, the WGA is not going to expel Disney, right? Well, they're important, like whatever, dog. Like I'm losing respect for these people. Like you gotta, if you toothless actions. Come on, guys. Like what's it all for if you're not actually going to enforce it? But I don't know. Stand by your unions, I guess. That's what I'm saying. And unions stand by your people. I don't know. Anyway, one more story before we move into weapons from the box office this week. Big opens. Like not too bad for the first week of August. How'd weapons do, Andy?
Really good weekend for the first week of August. Usually, I was considering the summer season over last week when with a Fantastic Four, and we've had a really good opening weekend, both for Weapons and Freaker Friday. Weapons came in at 42 million domestic, 70 million worldwide, which is huge. The expectations were like 30 to 35 million, so it's blown that out of the the water, and it was about a $40 million film, so we're already on our way to profit territory. Freakier Friday also did really well at 29 million, 44 million worldwide. Similar mid-budget movie, and that franchise is proven to have just a good support. And we were actually talking, it's like, why haven't they done like a men's version of Freakier Friday yet? That seems like kind of a no-brainer. And you still somehow get Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan in there, and you get the Avengers of Freakier Friday. But that's done pretty well as well. The Fantastic Four First Steps continues to kind of troll along. It made 15 million over the weekend, 230 million domestic, and 434 million worldwide. This does seem to like it's slowing down. I don't think it's going to hit that 500 million mark, and I think is ultimately going to be a bit of a disappointment for Marvel. It's a fine film, but I think they were hoping it was going to be a big restart, and we're going to get close to $1 billion.
Anybody out there who's a fan of the box office numbers, could not encourage you enough to go check out our box office, the box office subreddit. I love the predictions they make in there, because people were talking about
number
weeks
jockeys.
ago. Yeah. Oh, dude. And they're deep in it too, way deeper than Andy and I. They were talking about weeks ago, Fantastic Four was going to make under 500, and people in there were like, scoff, delete your account. How could you even say that? Even I thought, oh, dude, Fantastic Four is going to do good. And Andy over here was like, I don't know. It's looking like Fantastic Four is going to make less money than Superman, like, which is by all accounts a tremendous failure of Marvel. I think, like, way more than people report. It'll likely turn a profit, but like the fact that Marvel's put out 3 films this year, and 2 of them are making less than Superman for sure. I think Captain America cleared it, maybe. Just with the international audience, like, says a lot. Additionally, international audiences are not turning out for American superhero films like they were. They have way slowed down this summer, probably due to politics, maybe global leanings. And one more thing about this. Last week, Andy said, right here on this show, on this very blessed episode 302 last week, he said that Naked Gun cost too much money to shoot. And I was like, what is it, like $42 million? That's not that crazy. Dude, Weapons and Freakier Friday were both cheaper than Naked Gun. And I'm like, okay, maybe you're right. Like, I didn't see Freakier Friday, but obviously it's got a lot to do, and Disney productions are notoriously expensive. Meanwhile, Weapons, I think, probably has more going on than Naked Gun, and like somehow ends up coming out cheaper. Like, crazy. You're right. Naked Gun did cost too much to shoot. They messed that up. They should have cut 10 million off that budget, but
I mean, comedies are surprisingly expensive because you got to pay for the talent. Liam Neeson, not cheap. Pamela Anderson, not cheap. You were right about the international audiences with the superhero films, because what is eating them up is Jurassic World, which crossed 800 million worldwide, continues to be probably the biggest thing of the summer. And that's where even both Superman and Fantastic Four have not done well overseas. And it was funny because people were saying, oh, well, James Gunn should have moved Superman and not have it open so close to Fantastic Four. It's going to get eaten up. And now people are saying the exact opposite. They're like, oh, they should have pushed Fantastic Four somewhere else and not been so close to Superman. But yeah, it just kind of tells you the way things are changing, and that both domestic and international, especially international audiences, just aren't interested in American superhero movies the way they were 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. One more mention before we jump into Weapons. I wanted to say I have not watched Freakier Friday, neither has Andy, but I've heard really good things. Gotten great reviews, and a couple people reached out to listen to the show and said, hey, like, it's worth mentioning, rock solid. So if you're interested, I don't know, soft recommend, I guess. The Grapevine says
great for
Freakier
the kids.
Friday's a banger. Yeah. So hey, for what it's worth, go check it out. And if you wrote in to tell us about it, thanks. We should talk about Weapons. Any other thoughts on the box office, Andy?
Just to round out the top 5, The Bad Guys 2, the animated sequel, came out at 10 million, 43 million domestic, 83 million worldwide. I think that's doing pretty well. The first one was a huge hit. It was made for only like $20 million and made like 10 times that much. Big hit. I'm not real sure on the budgets on this one, but it's doing pretty well. Again, another one for the kids. And The Naked Gun rounds out the top 5, 8 million domestic, 33 million domestic over the last 2 weeks, and 56 million worldwide. So I think that one will probably break even given enough time, especially once the VOD hits. I think it'll do okay. But again, it also contributes to, well, we're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Spent too much money, didn't make it back.
Yeah, I was just watching a video of Seth MacFarlane talking about producing it, and they kind of talked about that. Liam Neeson had said in an interview, he's like, I don't think it's getting a sequel. I think it's a one and done. And like, it's a shame because I think the people enjoyed it, really enjoyed it, but it just is, it's not like in a space where Fast 11 is not quickly getting greenlit for making like $400 million in its previous iteration worldwide. Naked Gun just barely clearing it, ain't it? Like maybe it'll get a TV show in a couple years or something. They'll reboot Police Squad and have the same kind of energy. It'd probably be cheaper, but I don't know. Anyway, keep it here for more from the box office and movie news. Of course, cover this every week. But we got to jump into our first film of the episode. I'm going to be taking the summary on this one, so please excuse any funny delivery. The movie is Weapons. So, last night at 2:17 a.m., every child from Miss Candy's class woke up, got out of bed, went downstairs, opened the front door, walked into the dark, and they never came back. That's the setup for Weapons, Zach Cregger's new feature following his last horror film, Barbarian. This is an original project written and directed by Cregger, starring Julia Garner as Miss Justine Gandy, our mysterious teacher, Josh Brolin as an upset, grieving father in the neighborhood who's quite accusatory towards Miss Gandy, Alden Ehrenreich as Paul, a local police officer, and a few other characters who I don't really want to get into too much. Those are kind of our three big ones. Weapons takes place in a suburban neighborhood of modern day that is very much upset by these events. And it's been a while. I think at the beginning of the film, it's been the rest of the summer. They shut down the school for a few months, I think, to kind of check things out, and then ultimately are just kind of starting to open the school back up. Despite the fact that these kids are missing, the local cops are looking for them. Miss Gandy doesn't have any answers and has been struggling all year. And all of the parents who don't know where their children are like, what do you mean you're just opening the school back and life's going back to normal and we're not going to do anything about this? It is a neighborhood that has been torn apart by this great tragedy and mystery of these missing kids. 17 kids just get up and run out of their house in the middle of the night. Where did they go? Why did they leave? Who knows something about this, right? This suburban community that is like just absolutely struggling for answers. The film is directed by Cregger. I talked about who it stars. I don't want to give away too much. It's a bit of a mystery. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to talk about the ending. So I just want to jump into Andy. What'd you think of Weapons?
So I really, really enjoyed this. Has been one of our most anticipated movies, not only of the summer, but of the whole year. Really been looking forward to it. Zach Cregger, he's a hot new talent. He's already scheduled to do a Resident Evil movie. He's got something else cooking after that. He's in high demand. It's an exciting time for him. And I didn't really know what to expect because it's such an interesting mystery. And no matter what I thought the movie was going to be about or where it was going to go, I could not have guessed at all where it does. And I think that's part of what I enjoyed. I think we can talk a little bit about our characters, a little bit about our setup, or some of our style. One of the things that's really interesting is that the movie does this Rashomon kind of approach. And by that, I mean that we get the same set of events told from different character perspectives. We get one from Miss Gandy, from Josh Brolin's character, from Benedict Wong's character, from other characters. And so you kind of can piece together what is happening somewhat. But it's one of those things, the more answers you get, it just seems to raise more questions, and it just kind of takes us deeper and deeper into the mystery. Cregger has said that the film Magnolia, the Paul Thomas Anderson film that does a similar thing, is very influential on this. The multiple perspectives, and that was something I didn't know or expect. I think it's something that really works, makes it really interesting. All our characters are kind of represent different aspects of suburban or like small midtown life, and they're all struggling. They all struggle to control the situations they're in. Julia Garner's character, she can't control this lynch mob of parents that are after her. Josh Brolin, he's frustrated with the investigation. He's going down to the police station wanting more and more answers, and they're like, well, the investigation's ongoing. Alden Ehrenreich is the police officer who is, his entire life is just out of control. He's in this awful relationship, and he's in this kind of dead end job. And there's some other interesting characters. So it's a really interesting setup and approach to the movie.
Yeah, I really can't believe how well this shift in perspective keeps you glued to your seat. Like, not only through like the scary, thrilling parts of the movie, but also like the very telling drama and quite funny comedy. Like it's got three really fantastic elements of these things, like that manage to come together in all of these different character retellings. I think it ultimately pivots through 5 different character perspectives. And we don't want to talk about what all of those are. Much rather you go see it and find out for yourself. But it does such a good job of kind of bringing you into the story with our intro. You've got this kind of fable retelling. A young girl is explaining these events over a voiceover at the start of the film. And then for like the first act, like you almost forget you're watching a horror movie because these characters are so compelling and they're so nuanced and troubled and broken and grieving. Like, and when they interact with one another and their lives that are obviously very much going on outside of this mystery that we don't really understand or haven't really gotten to yet, like you're getting all of this character and all of this like genuine emotion from them. And then it reminds you, oh yeah, like you got to find out what happened to those kids. And that's where Weapons like really starts to take a turn into something really special. Like, and it's kind of, I couldn't believe how quickly I kind of forgot that I was watching a horror movie. It's funny, it's dramatic, and then surprise, there's quite a mystery happening in the middle of all of this.
Right. I kind of felt that same way. There might be too many characters and points of view. I remember that I've actually seen this twice. The first time I remember thinking about halfway through the police, Alden Ehrenreich's point of view, that I was like, where are we kind of going? I feel like we're getting away from the main storyline, but it does end up tying in really well. But there's all this small town drama going on and everyone's really kind of messy. I remember thinking from the trailer that Julia Garner's character is like this very sweet and innocent teacher, and like she's a struggling alcoholic. She has other like impulse control issues. She's fighting with the principal, played by Benedict Wong, and as a former teacher, Benedict Wong is so good as like the administrator because he's so kind of diplomatic and he knows all the stuff to say. And I was like, he definitely had like researched this really well. Yeah. But our differing perspectives get really interesting. I wanted to talk about our scares just a little bit. It is a horror movie, and there's a lot of tonal shifts in there. Parts of it are really funny, kind of. They're supposed to be, and sometimes I think they just are. But there's some really terrifying moments, and the second time I saw it, I knew all the jump scares that were coming, and some of them still got me. They were still really scary, but it doesn't depend on them too much. It's not as like kind of atmospherically creepy the way something like maybe The Shining would be, or even Hereditary, but it's got good scares in there, is what I'm trying to say.
It was such a treat watching the credits for Weapons and seeing in the special thanks David Fincher and Bill Hader, both immediately credited as a special thanks. I don't know Cregger's relationship with Hader, but he talked about Fincher in an interview. And he said Fincher, was available during pre and during post-production and genuinely helped with the edit of the film. He said he helped from things like pacing and just like kind of when to cut to things like genuinely reframing. Like, hey, let's zoom in on this 8K shot and make this a 4K and put this subject on this side of the screen instead because it'll work better when you cut back from that. And I don't know how much of this movie is directly influenced by Fincher, but I can tell Cregger has grown so much from Barbarian. And Barbarian, I thought, was a great first horror entry. Like, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but so much better than so many directors put out for their first horror feature. Like, and Weapons is better in nearly every way. Part of what I like so much about Barbarian was this perspective shift, right? Like in Barbarian, when our lead arrives at this Airbnb and there's a person already staying there, you have these two immediate perspectives of these two people. And then a third of the way into it, it cuts to another guy out in California, Justin Long's character. And Barbarian only really has kind of those 2 or 3, and one of them you don't even really dance in. This one goes further in every way. Every character is deeper and better. Every laugh is funnier. Every scare is more brutal. Like the suspense is tighter. Like it really feels like he's grown in every sense. I think if I have a criticism of Weapons, I think it has too many themes. This is something that people have talked about a lot. Weapons isn't about anything. Or Weapons doesn't have a central message. I think it actually has a few central messages. It may have too many. Like it may be a situation where it's too muddled and general audiences come out and say, I don't see any one clear direction of what this movie's about. Cregger's talked about in interviews. It's actually really illuminating, but I do think it kind of talks towards the end of the movie, so I don't really want to get into what that is here. But I do like what this movie's doing. If anything, I think it might be too full. Like it might command a rewatch. You know, I need to go check it out again.
Yeah, there are. Gosh, this movie's about, I think, a lot of things, and especially before it came out, there were lots of theories about what it was going to be about. The number one being it's about school violence, and it may be a little bit about that, but I think the blanket thing is kind of suburban, small town fears, kind of what lurks behind closed doors, and there's Cregger has kind of said in a broad sense that it's a more personal film than I think people were expecting, because I think everyone's looking for these big social themes, and I don't think that's necessarily his main focus. There's been a lot of comparisons, funnily enough, to Eddington from last month, in that a similar a town at war with itself and kind of ignoring the real problems because of these conflicts. But there's a lot in there, and I agree with Zach what he said about this is such not an improvement, but a show of growth in the director. The pacing is really good. The cinematography's better. And I'm not a real fan of Barbarian, but I really enjoyed this. And he's just doing so much more with the camera and the way it's edited, and all of it just shows a big step in maturity and growth. It's not a perfect script. I think this is getting a little overhyped by some reviewers and being like, oh, it's one of the greatest things in the last 20 years. And it's like, whoa. Let's take it easy. There's a lot of great things about it, but we also need to keep ourselves grounded. And we want directors room to grow. I think Zach Cregger's best work is yet to come. I think he will give us a masterpiece or several during his career. Not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I am very much looking forward to what Cregger does next, but I'm not convinced this isn't maybe a masterpiece. Like, it might be. Like, I think time may be more kind to Weapons, and people have already been really warm on it. People seem to really go for this. Critics love it. I think it's so interesting that of all these themes that seem so outward about suburbia and like American neglect and like communal ignorance, or maybe like a malicious intent to not look at the problem for what it really is. I think it's fascinating that we all see this, and Cregger says in interviews, no, this is all inward. This is all about personal stuff for me. This is how my parents treated me when I was a kid. This is about losing my friend and long-term sketch comedy partner. Like he says this is all personal, but it's like so many people can connect to this art. And if this is strictly personal for you, like, how did you make something that's so damn entertaining? Like, it's really something special. I think Weapons is really cool. I need to go watch it again. Definitely got to grill Andy about his second time around. I think I saw on Instagram today you had seen it again. I was like, shoot, I didn't even notice. So any other thoughts before we wrap up Weapons? Shoot.
I will say a difference between the first and second viewing. The crowd in my first viewing was very serious, very like no chuckles, like no one really laughing at the intentionally or unintentionally funny moments. And the second crowd was kind of cracking up all throughout the film. And Cregger has said he did not write this as a comedy or as like, he's not trying to make people laugh, but some of it's just funny by the nature of it, and because it feels so real world, and all our characters feel like real people, and so a lot of times their reactions to things are the way you and I would react in ridiculous situations, and it comes off as funny. So everyone laughing a little bit more in the second viewing. Everyone really scared out of their minds both times. Lots of gasps, lots of like people clutching their hearts afterwards. So the scare is definitely still working.
Yeah, it's very cool. Andy, would you recommend Weapons?
Absolutely would. I was really happy with this, really surprised by a lot of it. Huge growth for the director, Zach Cregger, in style, in cinematography, in writing. Good performances from Jennifer Garner, Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong, and more. Real exciting stuff. I can't get too much into it because it's a big mystery to be unraveled. Really makes you think. I've seen it twice, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend.
Yeah, same. Delightful roller coaster of a movie. You will be glued to the screen the whole time. It might be a great film. It's a very good movie. It might be great. I'm not sure yet. Time will tell. Weapons rocks. Please go see it in a theater. Go see it on the biggest screen you can. Get loudspeakers. Like, this is one to turn out to the movies for. It's really fun. Yeah, and that's Weapons. We need to talk about some upcoming trailers, some stuff that's coming out soon. Andy, what do we call this segment?
It's time for the trailer park.
So, funny story, I just realized not only did I not change the banner at the top of the live stream that's supposed to say Weapons and the Shrouds up top, I didn't pull any trailer content for this. So I'll either put it in later or we'll just talk about it. I don't know, whatever. But either way, yes, the trailer park. Yes, here we are. The first trailer that we're talking about is the trailer of James Cameron's Avatar, Fire and Ash. So Avatar Fire and Ash is the third Avatar film. It's crazy. The first one came out in 2009, I think, and the second one came out in 2022. So quite the leap between two films originally. But the next one, is it 2022? Is that correct for Avatar 2?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, December 20. All right, so late 2022. Anyway, Avatar Fire and Ash is the third entry in the series, following Jake Sully and Neytiri and the Sully family as they are traveling to the Fire and Ash tribe on Pandora, right? The Fire Na'vi. Unfortunately, it looks like their sworn enemy, Quaritch, who is now also an Avatar after the events of the first movie, gets there first. And it looks a whole lot like he does a little wheeling and dealing and talking about how those water Na'vi down there, they're no good. We got to go get rid of them. It looks like, as far as I can tell, he teams up with them. They all go declare war on the other Na'vi, and you got Na'vi fighting. You got Na'vi versus Na'vi, which is crazy. It looks like a great time. Like, I remember when we were building up to Avatar 2 coming out, we talked a lot about whether or not it was going to be good. Came out, tons of fun. We enjoyed it. It seems like Avatar 3 is going to be a banger. Andy, what do you think?
So I've really come around on the Avatar series. I wasn't a real big fan of the first one. I wasn't looking forward to the second one. But I think I've finally been mesmerized by the James Cameron magic. This trailer looks amazing. He's managed to just create these incredible worlds and we have these like sky Na'vi that have these floating ships. We have the fire Na'vi, which seem to be a very warlike tribe. And just like the size and scale made me think of Dune in that way, which they're probably influenced in reverse order, but it's that thing that he does such a great job in creating new worlds that are very immersive. All the effects always look really good. It's going to be a big hit. I'm actually looking forward to this for the first time for an Avatar.
It's nice to be looking forward to an Avatar movie for a change. Like, actually, this one will probably be good.
Next, we have a trailer called "If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You," which is a funny title from new director and writer Mary Bronstein, starring Rose Byrne. Rose Byrne is a working mother who's dealing with a lot on her plate. She goes to a therapist, played by none other than Conan O'Brien. But her life is just kind of falling apart. She's struggling in her marriage, struggling at work. This looks like an incredible crash out, but I've heard a lot of buzz like this is already played at some festivals. People are saying this is Rose Byrne's like bid for an Oscar. So if I didn't know all that background, I wouldn't think much about it, but it's one to look out for, and Rose Byrne's always good. Interesting to see Conan O'Brien in a movie. He very rarely does film, especially like something a little bit more serious.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun though. Yeah, I keep hearing Rose Byrne's like excellent in it. It's funny. I really like Rose Byrne, and I think she has a really funny place in American comedy, and I think many audiences have just written her kind of off as like, oh yeah, she's in that one Seth Rogen movie I saw once. Oh yeah, she was in like a Judd Apatow movie. She plays the wife in whatever, Neighbors, right? Like you don't really think a lot about her as like a compelling actress, but she's done a lot of work over the last 10 or 15 years. She's been in a lot of films. Like, it's kind of impressive when you go look at her filmography, how many things she's done. So I'm glad. Like, break out, girl. Give me some drama. Do a horror movie next or something. Like, do something cool and weird. Like, Conan O'Brien's in it. I hope it's a good time. Like, I hope she gets her flowers. I think Rose Byrne has a lot of talent. I think she's often underwritten. We got to talk about the trailer for Rental Family. This is a new Brendan Fraser film, right? What's he been up to since The Whale and that one weird stint as the lawyer in Killers of the Flower Moon? Well, I'll tell you, apparently he's been living out in Tokyo, where he's starting to work for a rental family service. Well, at least his character is in Rental Family. He's an American actor who's living in Tokyo, taking roles, doing toothpaste commercials and stuff, when he picks up a job working for a service that offers rental family members to families that are grieving or maybe need a certain support role. It seems odd, seems strange, but he jumps in and starts to make connections with some customers, including a young girl who's looking for a guardian sort of character. That's all I really know. Looks like a small indie, and it's directed by Hikari, who I know has done some television, namely a few episodes of Beef, which I think Andy really enjoyed watching. I don't know a lot about Rental Family, but it seems to be a small project and seems kind of special and sincere and intimate. What do you know, Andy?
This is definitely an awards contender. It's being released in November over Thanksgiving, so it's right there in that corridor where we're going to see a lot of these kind of more serious films. It looks like a dramedy, for lack of a better term. Fraser's always funny, and just the premise is very lighthearted. But then there's also some more serious moments where, like, he's being hired to play this little girl's father because her father's died, and he's like a stand-in at someone's wedding. And so there's these things where it's it's going to explore like human emotions and all those things. So it's a funny premise, but there's probably some real seriousness later on. Awards contender. We'll see if Fraser gets a nomination or anything like that. And so our last trailer is called Eleanor the Great. And this is a new directorial debut from Scarlett Johannson that's been played at some festivals. And I'm going to talk about this in a strange way, because I'm going to talk about the trailer and then what the actual premise is, because it's not really, it's kind of hidden in the trailer. But Eleanor the Great played by June Squibb, who's in her 90s, is an elderly woman who's forced to move from Florida down to Manhattan with her daughter in her old age, and she befriends a young girl played by Erin Kellyman. They strike up a friendship. This seems like a very sweet and heartwarming kind of thing. But I'm going to talk about what the actual premise is. And the whole premise of this movie is that our elderly Eleanor lies about being Jewish and a Holocaust survivor to kind of be accepted by this Jewish community when she moves to New York. That for some reason is not in the trailer, and that is definitely the premise, because like I read when I first read about this movie and read that it was going to be Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut, that this was the premise, that she lies about her heritage in order to kind of become part of a community, and a lot that rubbed people the wrong way at some of the festivals. It's been kind of heavily criticized. I've heard it's a good first entry by Johansson, but we'll kind of have to see how that's received, because like I said, that is completely hidden in the trailer, and I know that that is the premise for sure. She tells that lie at like the beginning of the film, and then it's one of those things where it just kind of spirals out of control.
Yeah, I've seen people talking about this on Twitter. Lying about being a part of the Holocaust is morally reprehensible, and then shrouding that truth in the trailer where that happens is also a question. Like, you immediately tie that to the meaning behind your movie. Like, why wouldn't you tell people that? Is it because you were afraid people would judge your character for lying about being a part of the Holocaust? Like, it seems like a fine trailer. It seems like an awards picture. Like, oh yeah, she's gonna be June Squibb's travel to New York, and she meets a younger person. They have a connection.
Lease on life.
You're hiding this big main conflict. Why wouldn't you be honest about that and upfront? And like, yes, that does kind of echo the theme of your film, but the lie is really questionable, and like hiding it makes it imply that you also don't believe in it. It's like you don't believe in the theme of your own film. I think it's a premiere trailer. I'm hoping there will be a follow-up trailer that will probably reveal this in better detail. Maybe not. Maybe this is just what you get. Looks fine. Looks like an awards contender. Yeah, it looks like a small feature. Looks like a soft, almost like Noah Baumbach-esque opening for ScarJo, right? It's like something on a Marriage Story or something. Like, it's like soft, people talking in rooms kind of movie. Like, looks like June Squibb's great.
So this comes out next month, September 26th. So I don't think we're going to get a different trailer. I'd be surprised. I mean, I guess it is about 4 or 5 weeks away. So who knows? People have compared it to Evan Hansen, which the storyline in that movie is similar. Someone dies and someone living kind of pretends to be the friend or the best friend of the guy who died. And they're like, oh, we didn't know you were best friends. Tell us about him.
Tell an awful lie and then stuck with
yeah,
it.
a lie that gets out of control, basically. And that's what this movie's about. Yeah, I don't know. Johansson is Jewish herself. So this is like, she's very aware of the themes and what this all is. I'm interested to see this because I'm interested to see her first work. I'm a little nervous to see how it will be received.
Yeah, weird marketing. I don't know who decided to hide that. I think it would have been a better trailer if you had maybe opened with that, like, or started with it. But like, I don't know. Yeah, it's because without it, the trailer just seems a little empty. She travels to New York. She meets a couple people. Oh, you're real nice. I'm gonna write a story about her, and that's kind of it. Finding out like, oh no, there's this whole thing under there riding under the surface. Like, I don't know. People don't want trailers to give away everything. At the same time, like hiding a question.
You got to give away the premise.
Really yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
You got to give us the premise, man. You can't hide that.
Well, speaking of premise, we got to talk about our final film of the episode. Andy's gonna be taking the summary on this one, so light work for me. Andy, please take it away.
The Shrouds. So this was the latest film from David Cronenberg, legend of body horror, who of course did things like The Fly and Videodrome, Crash, and others. We've reviewed his previous film, Crimes of the Future. Now comes The Shrouds, another kind of futuristic techno-dystopian movie. It stars Vincent Cassel as Karsh. He is a tech mogul who is, in the last few years, lost his beloved wife, Becca, to cancer. In a kind of more morbid entrepreneurial endeavor, he has developed these death shrouds that allow you to see your loved one after they've been buried. The shroud envelops them, and you can see their entire body and their face. You can kind of watch them as they decay via an app and monitors. They have this graveyard that has screens on the headstones, so you can come and visit and mourn it and actually see your decaying dead one. Very grim and morbid thing. And this is all explained while Karsh is on a date. And he's like, oh, let me show you my graveyard. Let me show you my dead wife. And he's clearly not ready to be dating, not over his dead wife at all. One day his cemetery is vandalized by an unknown assailant or group of assailants. They smash the headstones, they steal data. He gets locked out of the technology. He's locked out of the app, out of the video feeds, all of it. They're trying to keep it hush hush, so we can't let the clients know. There's some sort of conspiracy going on. Is it the Russians? Is it the Chinese? Why are they doing this? Meanwhile, he has relationships with his some side characters. Becca's surviving sister, also played by Diane Kruger, another friend or his brother-in-law / tech guy for his company, played brilliantly by Guy Pearce, and more. So it explores obviously the theme of death and mourning, and this big mystery of what's really going on and who's behind this sabotage. That's our setup. Zach, what do you think?
Is my goat washed? Is Cronenberg cooked? Has he gone too far? I don't think so, right? I think that's the big question people are walking into Shrouds with, because Cronenberg has quite the filmography. He's done incredible work, and of much of his stuff, mostly body horror and like brutal themes. Like this has that stuff in it for sure, but it's dialed back. And most of the Shrouds is people talking in rooms. For the first half, I actually thought it'd make a great play, and it turns out it didn't start as a film. It started as a Netflix pitch. Cronenberg had talked to Netflix about doing a small series where this lead character, Karsh is his name, right? Would basically travel to different sites around the world, doing like setting up the shrouds, like for different people, and meet like a rich elite who's got this problem with his wife, or this other person who this person passed away and they're really meaningful. And it would kind of be like this 8-episode thing. And Netflix loved the pitch. And then he wrote 2 episodes for him, and they were like, nah, this isn't doing it for us. So he adapted it into what we have here. And it is deeply personal. It is deeply personal. In 2017, Cronenberg's wife passed away. And Cronenberg, like our lead here, dresses the same and talks the same. Vincent Cassel actually much based it on Cronenberg. The haircut is nearly the same. Not quite as coiffed, Cronenberg says in interviews, but even his accent is supposed to be close to Cronenberg. So it is very much, this is like Cronenberg talking about his wife, right? And her passing. And it's painful because Karsh, like Cronenberg, in a very one-to-one relationship between character and writer, is an atheist. He does not believe in an afterlife. So the idea that your lover has passed away and that you truly will never see them again is really painful. And so having this like voyeurism, corpse voyeurism, I think they call it in the movie, where you can watch your loved one decay via like technology and screens is so like right out of Videodrome. It's body horror. Like that's all the best stuff of Cronenberg. But it's also 2 hours of people just talking in rooms and like weak CGI because they didn't have a great script, and the lighting is real soft, and there's like the set design's okay, but like our actors are real limited, and it's just like, oh no, dog. Like a lot of this it's not as provocative as his older work. It seems like there's just a lack of general energy and enthusiasm. Part of it is because I think the themes are so dark and so personal. But the other part is, I know he's getting older, man. Like, and that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, it just ends up being a long 2 hours. It's a long feature, and I think a lot of people are praising it as like masterwork. I am not quite in that camp. I think it's good, but I think it's not for everyone.
I think the ideas are very interesting. This idea of mourning by being able to see your loved one decay, and the bigger, the kind of the long game of this is that he's like, oh, I want to be buried right next to her, and you will like we will both just be, I mean, like in any cemetery, we will be together forever in this place, and at that point no one will be watching. But the ideas of grief and how we experience it and how we deal with it, that's interesting stuff. The execution is kind of weak. One of the things that I do think is interesting is that he has managed to make several avatars of his dead wife in the real world. So he has, of course, her grave, which he can watch and see her decay slowly over time. He still has a very close relationship with her sister, who's like an identical twin, and so it's kind of like she's still there. And he even says some weird stuff like, "Oh, you smell like her. You have her same physique." And but also he's created this AI avatar called Honey, and it looks just like his dead wife as well. So, but Honey is on his computer screens and his phone, all that kind of stuff. It's like, he's absolutely unable to let her go and kind of move on, and he's continuing to mourn, but kind of in a really toxic way.
It's so painful too, because there's these fantastic dream sequences where you can see this sort of active like decay, this woman that's falling apart, like as she was going through procedures and surgeries and having parts of her amputated and becoming weak, and like you can see this pain, this grief that like the character is going through and that Cronenberg was going through, and this idea, this longing of like wanting to still have some part or access to them even after they're dead and buried is like painful and sincere. And like that theme, those themes, like that stuff all works really good. It's in the execution that you run into problems. It's how the script comes to the screen that it's an issue. It's a flat looking movie. It's not, doesn't have a lot of action in it. It's pretty basic. I'm in fact impressed at how little action is in it. There's a lot of lofty conversations about other shroud sites in Reykjavik, Iceland. This surgeon that used to work with his wife, who may know a little bit more something about what's happened to her since this site was attacked and these graves were desecrated. You don't go to any of these places. You don't go to Iceland. You're never like visiting other places. Like it's all very grounded. The actual set where the shrouds are is woefully small. It's like next to this house that's supposed to be a restaurant that like you see it in the trailer and you're like, well, there's got to be more. No, that's it. That's all they've got. Like you kind of can't believe how small of scope it is for such a great idea. The dream sequences, a lot of the sincere acting stuff between like Cassel and Kruger. Kruger's great in this movie. That stuff works good, but for 2 hours, it's difficult to hold attention. Like it's just not a very kinetic looking movie. Also, I think Guy Pearce is kind of woefully underutilized. He's got a whole B
Yeah.
plot that like I couldn't even recall. I watched this 2 days ago and I struggle to recall like the exact details of it. Like just kind of underbaked, you know, like parts of it that just don't come together as well as they do on the page.
Yeah, there's this whole conspiracy theory of, you know, the grave sites are vandalized, the data is locked out, they can't get into it. Guy Pearce's character is called in as someone who worked on the system to try and get back in. And it's incredibly complicated because it's on a small budget. So instead of acting out scenes, they just talk about that. They're like, oh yeah, that happened and the doctor came here and he met with this person. So that's how they kind of get around a lot of it. It's a lot of telling and not showing. It's incredibly confusing and it doesn't really make any sense in the end. And I don't think it's really concerned with the kind of sabotage and espionage part about it. It's more about like grief and that. But it would be nice if the plot mattered at all and kind of made more sense.
Yeah, there's really never a sense of like suspense. You're never on the edge of your seat, like wondering what's going to happen next. Like it's just a much more passive, relaxed ride for a couple hours about something that is really challenging. I love the influence of technology. It's a screen heavy movie, but like I think that's important because this is how we're accessing this character who's just on another plane, right? Like his wife is gone. Like we cannot get to her. But like through technology, through your phone and encrypted data and this fiber wire that's running out, like you have like just a window, like a portal. And like I love that idea. It opens with a great visual of this, like of him kind of like looking through this like window in the ground. Like that stuff feels so Cronenberg. The design of the shrouds, right? They're like these Japanese like inspired wrap things, like, and there's all these cameras in them, so they can generate this perfect lidar feed of your loved one decaying. And like that stuff is all perfect. Like that stuff I totally see. These dream sequences I really like the body horror stuff works really good. It's just long. Like, and it just takes a long time to get there. And I hate to say a Netflix series might have been better, but maybe you could have paced it out a little better, like with episodes with more like concealed plots one by one, you know, that kind of have their own thing going on. Like, I think maybe you could have told a broader story that would have worked better. I think Shroud is indulgent, self-indulgent, almost to a fault. It is Cronenberg being brutally honest on the page about how he feels about a lot of this stuff, and then it just doesn't come over to the audience in the same way, and that ends up getting like a 3-star review, you know, and that's a shame because I do think there's a lot of special ideas here. It just doesn't pop the way it used to, and I can't help but feel like it's because of Cronenberg's age. You know, he's getting older, man. Like I don't even know if he's going to make another movie after this. So, yeah.
It's interesting because some directors only get better as they age. Scorsese is like that. He's only gotten better as a director in the last decade or so. But I mean, like a lot of things, a lot of directors kind of get worse as they age. So I hope he does more. I think the ideas are interesting. This is way too long. This would make a decent 90 to 100-minute film. Full 2 hours is too much. It's too slow. It's poorly paced. It's kind of boring. If you're not, you have to stay really focused on it. So it's like, yeah, it's like at this point, I'm more interested in like, is it Brandon Cronenberg, his son?
Yes. Yeah. Making.
Yeah, I'm more interested. Yeah, I'm more interested in what he's doing now.
Yeah, I really do think there's a version of this that would work great on the stage. I really, because fundamentally that's what most of it is. Like most of it is lack of action. It's people talking. Like that's what I think is the thing that hurts this the most. But its themes are profound, and the setup is good. Yeah, the idea of this guy who runs this like revolutionary gravesite where you can see corpses, and then it gets attacked one night by some sort of like terroristic force, and they can't figure it out, and they can't access the cameras anymore, and they just have no idea who's behind it or what's pulling the string. Like it's a compelling mystery at the center of really painful themes. But I think in execution it lacks. I think it suffers. That's all. But I like it. I do like the Shrouds. Not as much as Cronenberg's other films, I don't think, but like it'll be one I think of. I think often when I think of Cronenberg, because I think it's very personal. It's a very personal film, and if you're into Cronenberg, it might be up your alley. Like you might go for it in a way that I don't. I guess. Any other thoughts or recommendations, Andy?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend the Shrouds?
I would say soft pass on this. It didn't really work for me. There's some interesting ideas, but the execution is just kind of poor. It's too long. It's slow. It's poorly paced. It's done on a cheap budget, so they got to cut a lot of corners. There's a lot of describing scenes instead of actually having them act out. I think if you're a hardcore David Cronenberg fan like I am, I will watch everything he makes. I would say definitely check it out just as a completionist. But to the average person, even as a horror and body horror thing, it just didn't really work. So I would say soft pass, except for the hardcore fans.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. It's complicated and at times maybe overly sterile. I do think it's really authentic. I think it's very inspired by Cronenberg's life and the loss of his wife, but ultimately, like it's maybe overcomplicated, and at over 2 hours, like it's kind of overbaked. And I think I don't know, it doesn't have enough going for it in the turns to keep it interesting. You end up bored. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Shrouds works as well as maybe some say. But anyway, that's the Shrouds, and that's Weapons, and that's off script episode 303. What are we watching next week, Andy?
We're going to be taking a look at Apple's highest to lowest. This is the new Spike Lee, not Spike Jones, Spike Lee film starring Denzel Washington, which is a remake of an older Kurosawa film involving a music mogul who gets wrapped up in a ransom plot. It's supposed to be really good. You have to see this movie this week if you're going to see it in theaters, because Apple, this is going to be in theaters for like a week or two at most, and then it's going to be on Apple TV Plus next month, which is a huge shame because it's Spike Lee and this is supposed to be a big awards contender. So that's really disappointing. But that's the theatrical one we'll be watching, and we're going to do something a little bit different next week. We're going to be doing some TV corner, and we're going to watch the first 2 episodes of the Alien TV show, Alien Earth, which premieres tonight at 7 p.m. Central on Hulu. It's going to be an 8-episode series. We're going to watch just the first 2 and review it next week. I'm also going to be talking about Peacemaker next week because I'm rewatching the first season just in anticipation of the second season, which also starts later this month. So doing some TV next week. Some FYI releases: Nobody 2, the action sequel to Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, also comes out this Friday. Haven't really heard a lot about that. I think that might be a flop. And then another FYI release, Night Always Comes, which is a Netflix release starring Vanessa Kirby, who, of course, we just saw in Fantastic Four. She plays kind of a destitute woman who owes some bad guys $25,000, and she's trying to take care of her older brother who has Down syndrome, and it's kind of a survive the night kind of movie. I might check this out. Looks interesting. Love Vanessa Kirby, but that's coming out on Netflix. But next week, highest to lowest, and the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth.
Yeah, very much looking forward to highest to lowest. I really wish I had a longer theatrical window. Also wish I just had more advertising in general. I've seen 1, maybe 2 trailers for highest to lowest in the past like 3 weeks. Other than that, nothing. If I wasn't doing this podcast, I would have no idea it was coming. I would have no idea I was about to miss it. So it's a shame. I hope it gets some more traction. Looking forward to Alien Earth. If you enjoyed the episode today, if you like what we're doing here on Off Script, best way you can support us is just subscribe to the show on any platform where you see us. If we're on YouTube, hit the sub button there. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia for our audio listeners. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the usual social media places. You can check out our website at offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can always leave us mail, correspondence, direct, one-to-one, mailbag, fan mail at offscriptfilmreview.com. From all of us at Offscript, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.